It's 6:30 in the morning as we take off in 2 Zodiac speedboats for the village of Lake Quinn. It's misty and the sunrise adds an eerie feel to the first hour of the trip deep into the Irrawaddy Delta. We pass villages and see the blue of the emergency tarpaulins supplied after cyclone Nargis hit on the 2nd of May in 2008. It's estimated that approximately 220,000 people died in this disaster and the following days. Glimpses of destruction remain, but it was all pressed home very clearly when we reached the village of Lake Quinn. As we approached the sandy beach with idyllic beckoning palm trees, it's hard to imagine that we have reached the heart of where Nargis hit. The village chief is there to welcome us, and we wander into the village, a relatively well-off trading post. ADRA delivers food aid for WFP, the World Food Programme, in the Delta, and we see our staff hand out rice, beans and oil to the beneficiaries. It does not take long before we start to hear the stories of what happened during Nargis. Today we hear hair-raising tales of panic, disorientation and confusion, often with dramatic outcomes. We meet an old man, Yu Leimint, a gentleman who relates the story of how he finds refuge in a house near the beach, but to his horror and despair, he hears and witnesses 4 of his adult children and 7 of his grandchildren drown, not even 10 meters from where he is. He now lives in a hut just a stone throw away from where his offspring has perished, still in complete shock and unable to accept what has happened. He relates the events of the night to the camera, and we see how hard this is for him. I sit with him and hold his hand, but words are not enough to convey our emotions. Tears have been flowing freely this day as we heard how children and adults fled into palm trees, hanging on for their lives, hearing and seeing others' strength falter and fail, often ending in death. We visit the village of Wabokon, where 500 of the 600 villagers perished, and the local chief points to the palm tree that saved the lives of himself and his wife. And we visit Kyaarchang, where hundreds of villagers perished as they tried to outrun Nargis as it hit their coast. Here we visit the fresh water pond that ADRA cleaned with the help of Difid after Nargis, and it has become a beautiful spot of nature with palm trees, reeds and water lilies on the surface. But all this beauty of today belies the fact that from this pond ADRA workers first had to clear the human remains of tens of people and livestock before securing the drinking water. I sit with 2 young adults in their shackle shop, hearing how 10 of their family perished that night and how they hung on for their lives in the trees. Strength and determination plus strong palm trees were the only solution to save one's life. And so we hear of tragedy upon tragedy. Later that day, we sail across to the village of Pien Alan, where we see one of the concrete bridges ADRA built in the delta after the tsunami. This whole village was destroyed during Nargis, and more than 1,200 villagers lost their lives. The ADRA bridge in Pien Alan, however, saved the lives of about 300 villagers. We talked to some of the survivors, and they show us how they clung on to life on the bridge. The ADRA emergency response has been incredible. ADRA was the first on the ground in this part of the delta, and we are still there, providing access to clean water, sanitation, healthcare, and providing food. ADRA is determined to stay long after Nargis has gone. In darkness, we return to the base in Labuta. We are exhausted, and our emotions are shattered, but we are also thankful that we were privileged to visit this area of Myanmar. We will never be able to shake off the impact of the stories we heard and things we saw. Impressed by the way of how committed ADRA workers are able to continue to bring hope to this shattered area, and the little role that we have been able to play in that by providing funding from the UK. Even more impressed by the people of Myanmar, who had to pick up the pieces and continue with their normal daily life while carrying their memories with them for as long as they live in this difficult part of the world.